Jesus. Okay. I don't. Where's the goddamn... Dude. I genuinely have... I'm not really... Okay, so it says I'm live, but I don't see that shit. Oh, great. It's working. Oh, nice. Okay, well, good to hear. Are you in here? Are you watching? For some reason, also, I can't get my chat to work. I don't know, dude. This is freaking... I'm just going to roll with it. I'll get better as I go, I'm sure. Okay. Let me start recording, and we'll get going. Oh, yeah. There you are. Yeah, for some reason, the freaking... The YouTube chat is not... I think it's... There's a couple different logins on there, but... And, like, I'm not totally positive that I've got it set up right, but that's fine. All right. Not worrying about that. Start recording. Okay. That's it. We're recording. Welcome officially to the first ever video edition of Younger Man's Game. My name is Eric Wesh, and I'll be your host as we go over all the stuff related to my upcoming attempt to hike the Pacific Crest Trail, which is a trail that runs from the U.S.-Mexico border all the way to the U.S.-Canada border along 2,700 miles of the most beautiful and rugged terrain on the west coast of the United States. In previous episodes, I've gone over some of the preliminary stuff related to why I'm doing this hike and sort of how I'm preparing for it. This is the second of so far 2, and I think probably only 2 episodes that will be entirely related to the gear that I'm choosing to carry. Last week, I went over the kind of the big 4, basically my pack, my shelter, my sleep setup, and hydration. And I'm going to show those off here today. But my goal for this podcast, this episode today, is going to be to actually drill down into basically everything I'm going to carry. I've got it all sort of scattered out around me here in this little room that I'm recording from. And I've got a couple of nifty little scales here. I've got just a regular old kitchen scale. It's nice and dirty just to add authenticity. And then there's this. I got this like little fishing scale deal from like a local sporting goods store. It was on sale. It's not like super, it's not the greatest thing, but it's got up to a 50-pound capacity. So I'm going to use this to actually like throw everything in my pack and weigh it. So I can get a sense for what my base weight is. And before we start diving into all this stuff, let me explain some basic terms here for hikers. Distance hikers are obsessed with how much weight we carry. It is a universal quality. And the base weight, which is the amount that all of your gear minus your food and water weighs, is how you determine, who gets first crack at the campfire and beer. No, it's mostly just, it's something to obsess about in the lead up to your hike, and then something to fuss over while you're on the trail. At the end of the day, I've said this before, I don't really think base weight is all that important. I think it's way more important that you carry the gear that's right for you based on how you're going to set up your camp and how you're going to want to proceed throughout your day. I mean, what are the bare essentials that everybody needs? Well, those are all pretty much the same. I mean, you need shelter, you need a place to sleep, you need a way to filter water, you got to have something to carry it all in, you need some clothes, you need some, probably navigation equipment and first aid and all that stuff. Some way to cook food, some way to carry the food. Beyond that, like, it kind of starts to open up for interpretation and really like what What and how much you're going to want to carry is really determined by how comfortable you are having a heavier pack versus how comfortable you are going without some luxuries. Because, look, when you're out in the backcountry for 5 months, which is how long this hike is going to take, you are, in fact, going to go without quite a few things, right? Like your showers, for example, and laundry are two of the big ones that everybody that become worth their weight in gold when you can access them on the trail, and it's not something that happens very often. Generally, only when you stop into a town, and so you're going to be kind of roughing it in the sense that you got to carry all your stuff with you. How much you want to rough it is really up to you, and this is where it's one of those things where I'm so grateful that I've got the experience that I do. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm not an expert in this or frankly anything. I just happen to have a lot of experience carrying a backpack into the woods and setting up camp and walking around with it. And so I know for me what works. Like I know the luxury items that I wouldn't go without. I know the stuff that I don't really care about. And I know where I can sacrifice if I need to make sure that my pack isn't killing me at the end of the day, and also make sure I've got everything I need to stay reasonably comfortable on the trail. So that's the kind of that's the general scope of what we're going to talk about today. I've got my notes here open, so if you see me glancing over, that's really what I'm doing during this episode. We are just under 8 weeks to my personal start date. My start date this year is April 10th, and I cannot believe that it's like 7 weeks and 5 days. That is crazy to me. I feel like it was 12 weeks 3 days ago, but that is in keeping with the theme of 2026. I feel like the days are just flying by. I don't know. Is anybody else? Does that seem like how? I did run into one person who was like, "This year is taking forever," and I'm like, "What is your how? Explain to me how that's." Because everyone I've talked to, it feels like December was 4 minutes ago. But here we are. It's a beautiful day in Southeast Michigan, in the woods of Southeast Michigan. We've got a lot of snow still on the ground, but it's starting to warm up, and like it's 40 degrees outside. The melt is officially on. It's going to cool down probably 1 or 2 more times before you officially get into spring. But what's cool about it is, I woke up this morning and I went out and took the dog out for a little mini hike, and it was like that sunny but cold, but the birds are singing kind of mix that really that's the vibe of like spring in the mountain time, spring in the mountains, springtime. And it got me really excited because it was like that's kind of what it feels like when you're first starting off on a distance trail that starts at elevation, and there's going to be some elevation on this trail for sure. So I'm very excited about it. The training is proceeding. The physical stuff is good. I've had a couple of aches and pains this week. Like my left knee has started bugging me on the uphill treadmill sessions, and I'm thinking that's related to like a hamstring issue, but I'm kind of taking it easy and reducing the mileage and just icing and stretching, and hopefully that's just a getting the body moving type of a pain, and not the beginning of some sort of issue type of pain. We'll see, but I'm pretty confident it's all right. And then what else is going on? So I don't have I have a full-time job, and I've had 2 jobs for a while here to save up for this, but I'm down to 1 full-time job, so there's not a lot of money in general, and I'm going to have a whole like financial episode where I talk about how much you got to set aside and what to expect to spend on this kind of thing. But long story short, I'm taking all my money that I make and just shoving it into a shoebox for the purposes of this hike, and it means that I have to like really, really be thrifty in the rest of my expenditures. So I'm rationing like the groceries, and so I'm not eating very big meals because I want to make sure that like the amount that I spend gets me through the week. And this week started off with going to the grocery store and coming home, making dinner. I made some mashed potatoes and some chicken and whatever. And I went into, I made myself a little meal, and I went in the other room and I ate it. And then it wasn't very much food, and I was walking back into the kitchen, and I was thinking, oh man, I'm like still kind of hungry. This is a bummer. Like, I don't know how I'm going to make this food last all week. And then I was getting ready to put all my food away and clean up the kitchen. And in the pot of mashed potatoes, I was like, I'll just take one more scoop of the mashed potatoes. And I took a fork and I scooped out a little bit of mashed potatoes, which were actually I didn't make those that day. They were leftovers. They had been in the fridge all day. I'd made them the day before. and I took a spoonful of mashed potatoes and I put it in my mouth and I bit into the mashed potatoes, and then there was this bizarre crunch that really shouldn't be in the mashed potatoes. There was nothing crunchy in the mashed potatoes. And then all of a sudden my whole mouth and my sinuses just filled with a very familiar and very awful smell that anyone from the Midwest would recognize. It's something called a stink bug. Yeah, a stink bug. So you can imagine, not the most pleasant of sensations, but it just immediately, it was like a grenade of stank that just went off my mouth. All of a sudden, it was just everywhere. It was like my eyes started watering. I spit everything out there. I don't know how this, it was like a dead, I don't know how I got in there. They get in like in the fall, they come into your house around here, and like there have been a few over the course of the winter, and I thought they were all gone. I have no idea how this one got on my mashed potatoes. But the good news is I was not hungry at all after that. For like 3 days, actually. I didn't feel like eating. So that cured my grocery rationing problem. And I'm considering making it part of my training. I'm just going to eat something horrifying once a week to save money on groceries. I don't know. We'll see. That's how my week went. But other than that, let's get into the gear. So last week we talked about, like I said, the big four, and I'll start. I'm just going to go through these. I'm not going to talk at length about them because you can just go back and listen to last week if you want to hear about how I select for these items. But I'm going to grab the first thing, and I'll be moving around a little bit during this podcast because, like I said, all my stuff is kind of laid out on the floor. But I'll be kind of showing it off, and then I'll set it aside, and I'll be kind of packing things as I go. And hopefully by the end of the episode, we can pack it all up and throw it on the scale and see how much it weighs. All right, so my pack is the Atom Packs Mo 60, which is now called the Prospector 60. You can see it right here. This guy's looking pretty good for having a decent number of miles on it. It's a 60-liter pack, and you can see, like I was saying last week, like what I love about this thing is the roll top. So like the way you secure it down, there's no vestibule or other like fancy straps up here. It's just like one little cinch strap that goes over the top. And what's cool about this is, of course, like if you don't have that much gear, you can roll it down tight, and if you have a lot of gear, you can fill it up all the way. And then if you don't have a lot of gear, this little cinch strap up here makes a really good sort of load strap to hold down anything you might want to throw on top of the pack. In addition, it's got a very big stash pocket back here, a couple of stashies on the side here. This is where your water bottle and stuff goes. These guys, which are my nifty little shoulder strap pockets, which you can actually see I've got my Garmin in here, which we'll talk about that guy in a minute. And then hip belt pocket, which you can move to one side or the other. I actually think I bought 2 of these, and I have no idea where the other one is because I don't rock the dual hip belt pocket. I tend to like to do one hip belt pocket on one side, and then I'll do my front pouch, my little like fanny pack thing, off to the other side. So I kind of on each side I've got something I can reach for the things that I'll need while I'm actually on the hike. And then inside the pack, very important, very highly technical piece of gear, garbage bag. So basically this is your pack liner. This is what keeps the stuff in your pack fully dry in case of water. So go. And it's a huge, trash bag, which is good because if I've got the pack totally full, I can fit all of my gear in there. Although I think I mentioned last time that I'm kind of my thing is like I like to have basically just my sleep setup and then like one pair of anything like dry socks or whatever, so that if I'm in an extended rainy period, like at least I can give myself dry shelter. Because like I don't really care about being wet when I'm on the trail, but it sucks when you get into your sleeping bag and you're soaking wet. So let's just give this guy away here and see what the pack itself weighs. Should be just over 2 pounds. And who knows how accurate the scale is, but let's see. So we'll hang this guy. What does that say? You see that? Yeah, 2 pounds, 6 ounces. Okay, all right. So I think it was like 2 pounds, 3 ounces on the website, but hey, nothing is perfect. So, all right, that's our first, that's our actual pack. And then moving on to, where we going next? We're doing the sleep. The first thing I was packing in my bag is my sleeping bag and my pads. So I mentioned this last week, but I'll grab these. So my sleeping quilt that I'm using is made by UGQ. It's the UGQ Bandit in green dragon scales. Very awesome. And then I've got my sleeping pads Oh, and then with this quilt, you have to have straps. So, got my straps here. These are usually when I'm on trail. These clip to the actual quilt. So, I'm just gonna kind of stuff them in the foot box for now, but they don't really go anywhere because they are attached to the quilt. And then so that's the actual quilt, and then you need a pad, which I think I mentioned last week. I've got the Nemo Tensor. This is a 4-season pad, a little heavier because it's a 4-season pad, but this is super toasty warm. And then to use this, you've got your little inflator sack, which I was talking about, like the Venturi thing, where you don't like blow into it, you blow like near it. And the whole thing just like fills up, and then you basically attach this little guy to the actual pad, and then you fold the bag down and it pushes the air in to the pad. So when I pack this, what I like to do is I take my inflator sack and I like roll it, try to keep the open end out, but I like roll it up into you can see right here, you can roll it into the actual pad itself. That way they're always together, because nothing sucks worse than having to inflate one of these manually. If you want to like pass out at the end of a hiking day, that's a great way to do it. So that's like my early season desert main pad, and then I've got my little Nemo switchback pad to go under it, and this is basically to keep from poking a hole in it. It also adds a little bit of R value, so if it is super cold, I could basically camp in snow if I'm using both of these. Let's weigh these bad boys and see. Let's see what we got here. So I'm going to switch to American, I think. Let me try that. No, this is not. No? All right. Just in grams, I guess. Okay, well, we're measuring this in grams. I don't know. My scale is not doing scale things. So that is, all in, that's about 600 grams. So no idea what that is in ounces. Don't feel like doing that math. If anybody wants to follow along, you're welcome to. And then we've got the switchback is a lot lighter. That's like 260, 280. So that, and then basically like my sleeping pad, the deal with the sleeping pad is that what I'm going to do is, like I said, early season desert stuff, especially if it's cold, I'm using both. Probably Sierras, because the Sierras are at higher elevation and generally also pretty cold. I'll use both of these. But then after the Sierras, like probably somewhere in Northern California, I'll ditch the Tensor and I'll just rock the switchback, because I don't really need a fully cozy. I mean, like, it depends. Like usually, like if I'm on a long hike, the first couple weeks, I like to have a little bit more cushion, because my body's just used to sleeping in a bed. But then after I get used to sleeping on the ground, I don't really need the fully cushioned thing. As long as I'm warm enough, I'll usually get a good night's sleep. So probably I'm going to ditch the inflatable at some point in Northern California. And that's like another thing with the gear on this trail, is that like you do also kind of end up mailing things to yourself and then mailing things away from the trail a lot. It's a thing that happens. So don't be afraid to like switch your gear load out as you go. Like my last attempt, I mailed like full on like hiking crampons and like some like soft shell like mountaineering like snow pants to a place called Paradise Cafe, which is basically right before, if you're heading northbound anyway, it's right before you get into San Jacinto, which San Jacinto was like very, very snowy and icy that year. Fortunately, this year, looking still pretty good up there. So I'm optimistic that I won't need any crazy gear for that section of the trail, but definitely colder in the spring than it will be in the summer. So I'm gonna have the dual pad set up. Okay, let me pack these all in there. Oh, and then lastly, for my sleep setup, like I said, the little Sea to Summit pillow. This thing's, I could probably wash it. Yeah, I could definitely wash it. But let's see how much this guy weighs. This is like nothing. It's 100 grams, right? That's, it's a good sized bag of weed. All right, so let me pack all this up. It's a good sized bag. That's like 4 ounces of weed. That's a lot. It's probably more than you need. I mean, look, it's a long hike. All right, so when it comes to stuffing the stuff in a pack, I mean, it's like, however you can get it in there is really I try to make as much room as I can at the top, so I'm usually jamming things in there, and especially like a sleeping bag, it just crushes right down. So let me go ahead and stuff this in here. Another nice thing about putting the sleeping bag at the bottom of the pack is that the sleeping bag doesn't really weigh that much, but it takes up, it's like a little bit of bulk. And what's good about that is that then you can get your heavier stuff in the kind of the center of the pack, which helps distribute the weight a little bit more evenly on your hips and your back. Makes it a little more comfy. Okay. All right. And there we go. Sleep setup is in, minus the switchback, which I'm going to put on the outside of the pack. So we'll leave that off for just a moment. Okay, moving on to shelter. So I think I mentioned last week, but for shelter on this trip, I have, this is kind of my only big purchase for this hike, which is this guy right here. And this is the Durston X-Mid Pro 2. And you can't obviously tell because it's just a video, but like this is crazy light. Like this whole thing is like, I mean, it's like less, I think it's like 1.5 pounds. Let me throw it on here and see what the, I don't know why I can't get this guy to measure in pounds. Let me see if I can fix that. Like you should just be able to push the button. Well, maybe if I hold it down? No, nothing. Okay. So I will, yeah, so that's like 590 grams. That's not that much. Don't know what that is in pounds, and this is super weird. But I guess we could kind of weigh the pack with each thing in it. So let's go ahead and just try that. So, all right. Let's throw this guy in here, and like again with the tent, like this is absolutely like the most organized way this tent is ever going in this pack. You know, like you roll it up when you're done, like when you go, when you're done camping or every night, but like you just kind of stuff this guy in there. So we'll stick this guy down in there and see how much room it takes up. Ooh, that's actually a little bulkier than well, not too bad. Okay. And then I've got some stakes, and then they give you like some little nylon guy lines, which I'll probably will not end up taking all of this. When the ground thaws a little bit, I'm going to pitch this guy and trim these out to what I need, and I usually carry a little bit of extra line, but like I'm not going to have too much. And then this is the stuff sack that the shelter came in. I'm not going to use it for the shelter, but I definitely like an ultralight stuff sack for like clothing and stuff, so I will put that in there. All right, let's see how much that all weighs in American. And all right, here we go. So let's see. All right, now this is not powering on, so this is good. Everything's going great. Okay, here we go. So that is, where are we at? 7 pounds, 10 ounces. Can you see that? Okay, so we're at like 7 pounds with the pack, shelter, and sleep setup, which, you know, it's probably a little heavy, but like I said, I like a little more luxury in my sleep setup. I don't mind it. Okay, moving on. So next up, we've got, let's see, water filtration. Not too much to this one. Like I said, I've got those CNOC bladders somewhere over here. And again, this is one of those things where the loadout is going to change depending on where I am. So these are my, I think I only had one of these. So these are my 2 CNOC bladders. You can see one of them is a 2-liter, one of them is a 3-liter. And, you know, so between these two, I've got 5 liters of carry capacity in just bladders. And of course, here's my little Sawyer squeeze. And then the good old smart water bottle. And the nice thing about that, of course, is that it can screw directly onto the Sawyer squeeze. You know, and so if I carry 2 of these, and I got these, that gives me a total carry capacity of 7 liters, which is pretty beefy. I mean, that's about as much as you're gonna need to carry in the most deserty of deserty stretches. But, you know, I mean, you can always, if I need to beef up capacity, you can always swap up. If you go to like a gas station, you get the 1.5 liters. Then you got bumps your total bottle capacity from 2 to 3. So that is, that would give me an 8-liter total haul capacity. But by the time I get to the Sierras, I mean, the Sierras are generally quite wet. You don't really need to carry any water. If you do, it's just like a liter or 2. So I might bounce a package forward and pick it up. somewhere, because I mean, NorCal and Oregon can be pretty dry. You might, but like, nothing is as dry as Southern California, really. I mean, they can get close. Like, honestly, like some stretches of Oregon can be pretty freaking deserty. But in the Sierras, I probably won't need to carry that much. But, and again, it's also like just one little bladder, so it may not be worth mailing. Who knows? All right. So that's hydration. Moving on to cooking. So this is a pretty simple setup. I forget the name of this company that makes this. Let's see, it's on here. Evernew? Yeah, Evernew T. Ultralight Pot 900. I'll link to this. I can find the company that I got it from, but it's like a super light pot. Comes with a lid. You know, I've been thinking about swapping up to a. Yeah, it's only like 100 grams. Like that's crazy light, and it's for, you know, a 900 liter pot. Like you can boil almost a liter of water in this thing. But it's not really like a mug shape, and I kind of want a mug. I'm kind of thinking like luxury item, because I am someone who enjoys a cup of coffee in the morning, and like this, I mean, you can, and I have had your morning coffee out of this, but like the surface area on the bottom makes it so it just chills down, especially on a chilly mountain morning. Like you got to drink it in like 1 minute, or it just turns into like iced coffee. So I'm contemplating maybe swapping out to like a Tokes or something that's a little more mug shaped, or maybe just carrying an extra mug. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, this is my basic cook setup. So I've got a pot, got a lid, and then I've got a little Snow Peak. I think Snow Peak? Little Snow Peak stove. That guy is 50 grams. Nothing crazy there. And then of course a lighter. Got to have some way to make fire. This is the Bob Marley lighter that I stole from the last bar that I worked at. So if anybody ever sees this from the Fourth Tavern in Waterford, Michigan, and you're wondering where your lighter went, it's on the West Coast. So it's never coming back. Sorry. Not sorry. Okay, should have paid me more. I don't know. Anyway, here you go. Here's your lighter. Basic cook setup. Now, I usually, I won't just like have empty space like this in my pack, so I'll put other things in here. I'm not sure what I'm probably going to have in here right away, but it's fine for now. I can just pack that guy in there. So into the pack it goes, and there is the cook setup. And this is usually the first thing that I start packing outside my pack liner, because like you don't really need to keep your cooking pot dry. Okay, next up, food storage. So we've got 2 different things going on here. My general critter protection program for when I'm sleeping. Ursac makes some pretty nice Kevlar bags that are, they're not too heavy. Let's see how much this guy weighs. We're talking 190 grams, okay? So this is a pretty, if you tie this right, it's pretty good at keeping most woodland creatures out of your foodstuffs. It is, theoretically, you can use it for bears, but I don't know that I would trust this. Especially not bears in the Sierras that like have some experience getting into campers' foods. Plus, when you're in the Sierras, you have an actual bear canister requirement. So during that section, got the bear vault. A lot of people rent these, and honestly, if I had to do it over again, I probably would too, because like most of the time, this just like sits in your house and takes up space. But it's, you know, when you're on trail and you're in bear country, this thing is pretty much bear proof. You can see it kind of closes like that. It's got a little like locking mechanism on the lid that you have to have prehensile thumbs to open. And so good old Yogi can't get at your grub. You can see I've got these sweet stickers on here that adds a few horsepower. This Trail Designs is where I bought my cook gear. So, I mean, I'll send a link to them. But yeah, that's where I got these guys. This is not going to come with me the entire way. This is one of those things that's going to get mailed. Kennedy Meadows is where I'm going to pick this thing up. Kennedy Meadows is the last place where you can mail packages if you're going northbound. The last place you can mail packages before you get into the Sierras, which is like kind of the longest stretch in between resupplies. So I'm going to fill this full of goodies and pop it in the mail before I leave, and it'll be waiting for me at Kennedy Meadows. It's heavy. I mean, it's like a Lexan thing. I want to say it's a couple pounds. So another bummer about being in the Sierras is that you have to carry food weight that's not food in an area where all you kind of want is food. So, you know, you got to deal with that. But so it goes. All right, moving on. Clothing. So I don't actually carry a whole lot of extra clothing. You can see what I'm wearing today is actually, I mean, I don't know if you can see my shorts here. I've just got these like little running shorts that I picked up, I believe at REI, very fashionable. They're like the kinds with the liner, so it's like underwear and shorts in one, and that's basically it. I'm just gonna wear these until they fall apart, and then I'm gonna replace them in whatever town they fall apart at, and hopefully I won't be nude for too many miles. But yeah, I don't really carry any extra. I mean, I will have a shirt, like a sun shirt on, like a sun hoodie. Honestly, I love hiking in Hawaiian shirts. If they made a long sleeve Hawaiian shirt with a hood, I would definitely, that'd be what I would hike in. But the sun hoodie is just like hard to argue with. It's, you know, got thumb holes so you can protect your hands from the sun. And if it's really bright and you're in the desert, you pull the hoodie up, and if you got a baseball cap, like, you're fully protected. You don't even need sunscreen, really. I mean, I will carry sunscreen, but so sun hoodie, shorts. That's the basic setup there. Socks are really the only thing I carry extra of. I use the Darn Tough socks. I'll link them, but like they're kind of like the most badass socks ever made. They have like a lifetime guarantee on them, and honestly, I've got, I think, 3 or 4 pairs that I've abused the heck out of them, and I've not managed to get a hole in one yet after several years. So I'll have probably 3 pairs of socks with me. 1 on my feet, 2 in my pack. And then as far as other clothing goes, a base layer. So I have Smart Wool base layer bottom. And I generally, like, sometimes I'll bring a base layer top, but like honestly with the sun hoodie, it kind of already is a base layer. So instead of that, what I will usually do is I've got this little guy. It's like it's a hoodie technically, but it's super thin. It's made by Marmot. And I picked it up. I just got this, like, I think it was like a parking lot sale at REI or something. And it was, I think it's for runners, but it's like crazy light, packs down super small. And so I will usually use this as my other shirt if I need one. And then of course you've got a rain jacket. And let's see, what other clothing is there? Oh, the other big ticket clothing item is the actual puffy jacket. You want some kind of a hoodie that's got insulation. Mostly for at the end of the day when you're already at camp. This one is made by Enlightened Equipment, and that's another really cool company. I'll link them as well. Like this one had like a seam popped on it, like 100 miles in on a hike, and I emailed them about it, and they were like, just mail it back, and we'll send you a new one. And this is the one they sent back, and I've had it ever since. No problemo. So, killer, love it. And then the only other clothing really you have is you know, whatever you're gonna wear. Like I've got my rain gear, so rain jacket right here. And then if you want like something on your like lower half in the event of bad weather, this is another one of those trash bag type deals for me. I usually will take and make a rain kilt, which is just a trash bag with a drawstring up here that you cut the bottom out of, and you can just throw this bad boy on, and it'll keep rain off of your lower half. This is also super useful if you have to do any laundry because you don't have any shorts because you only have 1 pair of shorts, so you're just ripping around in a trash bag while you're doing your laundry and scaring all the decent folks. All right, so in it goes. And then this little guy, this is like a what do you call these? Like a shamak or a keffiyeh. I've heard them called a couple different things. It's just like a Middle Eastern scarf. I wear one of these when I'm hiking because they are incredibly useful for a number of things. This is my head wrap. If it's cold and I'm in my quilt, I sleep in this. I don't count it as my weight because it's not in my pack, it's on my body. But it can be used for a number of other things. It is also, like last time I went on a long distance hike, I hurt my shoulder and I made a sling out of this thing and walked off with it. It doesn't, lately I feel like it's like people are like assuming I have some sort of like a political reason for wearing it. I do not. I don't care who you are or what your cause is. I don't care about it. This is a useful scarf and that's why it goes with me. I'm not trying to signal that I'm on anybody's team with this. This is just really about a functional piece of clothing. Yeah, so it goes. And then lastly, we've got this is kind of a luxury item, but my hands get cold when it's like super chilly in the morning. These are the OR Trail Mix gloves. Super, super warm, very lightweight, and they just kind of pack down nice and small. So in they go. All right, we're getting pretty full here, and I have no food in there. So like, man, I obviously haven't packed this thing in a while. So I'm kind of, you know, just throwing things in willy-nilly here. I'm going to chuck this stuff sack in just so we can weigh it. But now we're moving on to some kind of smaller stuff. So we've got first aid kit is the next thing up. Now, first aid kit, this is one of those things where it's like how you got to decide how much risk you're comfortable taking and versus how much crap you want to carry. I am of the opinion that for most of the things that you experience in the backcountry, and I've had a couple of different things. I mean, I have had, let's see if you can see it on here. I don't think that scar is pretty much gone. And I used to have wait, which arm was it on? It was on this arm. I had a pretty good scar on here. Like, I've had to like suture myself up on trail before. I've had, like I said, I hurt my shoulder last time I was out. Like, there are things that can happen to you, and you don't need a whole lot of stuff to usually manage it. If you know how to like dress a wound and you know how to stop bleeding, you don't really need that much. And if it's something that's that serious, generally speaking, you're going to be trying to get yourself off trail anyway. And so it's not something you're going to be doing a whole lot of like medical stuff out in the field. So for me, my first aid kit is very basic. This is it right here. It's just a Ziploc bag. Ziploc bags are a hiker's best friend, you will find if you ever go out. The heaviest thing in here, Leuco tape. This stuff is incredibly versatile. I actually need a new roll. This guy's getting all gummed up. But you can do all sorts of stuff with this. You can look that up. It's a great piece of kit. I've got some just butterfly, like wound closure stuff. Some regular good old-fashioned Band-Aids. Oh, this is actually an empty Band-Aid container. That's cool. And then I've got these little... oh, sorry. These are the regular Band-Aids. There we go. And then I've got some hydrocolloid bandages. These are for blisters. So if you're new to hiking, you haven't been out for a while, like chances are some skin on your foot's going to get rubbed raw, and that can be a huge pain in the ass. It can also get infected. So you want to treat those with the respect they deserve. And these little hydrocolloid deals are awesome. If you put this and a piece of Leuco tape on it, generally speaking, you can keep it nice and protected and healed, and eventually it'll just form a callus and you'll be fine. I've got some triple antibiotic ointment packs, just kind of Neosporin stuff. Pair of tweezers in here. There, and then some meds. So, and then this guy right here, my life hack for stopping bleeding. Crazy glue. This stuff's great. You can close actually quite a few superficial wounds with this. Works super well. And then meds, I have just some very simple stuff. I've got a few Pepto-Bismos, a few Imodiums, some Benadryl, just kind of like the most common things you're going to run into out there. And all in, let's see what this all weighs. In my little Ziploc bag here, we're talking, what is that? 150 grams. So not too heavy. In it goes. All right. Moving right along. We've got... So I've got my little like miscellaneous repair kit bag. It's kind of a... It's not really, there's a couple different things in here. So I've got, this is my repair kit for sleeping pad. So super important if you're going to run an inflatable pad, you want to have the ability to fix holes. Got this guy in there. I also have my back flush fitting for my Sawyer Squeeze. Back flushing your filter is basically how you clean them. It's a good idea to do them every so often, basically every time you hit a town, to keep your water nice and clean. And then I've got a little carabiner that came with my Garmin that I end up using for all kinds of stuff. It's just kind of a handy thing to have around. I've got a needle and some thread here, and then I've got some foam earplugs. These are surprisingly useful. It turns out on long distance trails, you may find yourself camped in a place where people are making noise and you want to get some sleep. Pop these in. Sweep me away, Sandman. Finally, good old-fashioned compass. Definitely an old-fashioned thing to carry in the age of, GPS on everybody's iPhone, but I like to be able to navigate if I have to. This is kind of a shit happens thing that I got in there. So this is my little kind of repair / miscellaneous kit. Goes right in there. And then we've got like personal stuff. So my... I don't even have the bag for this yet, so here, let me just bag it up real quick. So I've got, like, I wear contacts. I'll probably have one pair on me. I don't know how often I'm going to wear them, but I do have a little tiny solution and a contact case. And then, of course, my little sawed-off toothbrush right here and a little tube of toothpaste. Some soap, keep it clean. And then I also tend to carry this Dr. Bronner's Magic Balm. You can see that. This stuff's pretty badass. It's like a bunch of natural oils. It's like really good for everything. I rub it on my feet, my hands. you know, if your skin gets super dry, especially if it's cold, that stuff's great. And it goes. And then, probably the most important piece of gear you're going to carry on any long distance hike, the poop shovel. Oh yeah, the poop shovel. So your poop kit is actually like a whole thing on the trail. And don't worry, this is dirt on here. Just FYI, it's not rocking a poopy trowel. So your poop kit, basically, you know, look, you got when the way you manage taking care of business out in the backcountry, if you want to be responsible about it, is you leave your organic matter in the ground. You have to dig it at least 6 inches down into the ground, and then you take everything else with you. So that means toilet paper, which, again, critical. Got to have the toilet paper. Used toilet paper goes into a bag that gets sealed up, and then for me, I double bag this because nobody's trying to have that get loose in their pack. So I'll have my like carry out toilet paper bag, and obviously this gets swapped out every town you go to. You've got your trowel, which there's there's like the old school orange plastic one. I used to have one for years, and of course this is called the Deuce #2. Clever guys. It's made by the Tent Lab, and you can buy it online. I'll link it, but it's a super ultralight and actually very strong poop shovel. So that goes in your kit, and then hand sanitizer, very important. Definitely use that. You know, when you're out on trail, keep things sanitary. So this guy just kind of gets shoved into the stash pocket. I'll throw this in there too. All right. Key thing with the poop kit, keep it somewhere handy. Keep it somewhere on the outside of your pack. Last thing you want if you find yourself in an urgent situation is to have to go digging and rummaging through your whole pack to see. There's Homer. Wait, there he is. There's Homer. He will not be joining me on this hike. He doesn't actually need a poop kit. He just goes wherever he wants. Sometimes it's nice to be a dog. Okay, other stuff I've got in my pack. I think I'm getting pretty close to the end here. Oh, so I carry... This is another one of those luxury items, but for me, I just find it so super useful. This is a Sea to Summit. Is this inside out? This might be inside out. Yeah, it's a Sea to Summit collapsible camp bucket. And like, honestly, like this freaking thing is so useful because I can't like, you know, let's say you find a campsite and there is a creek nearby where you can filter from, but it's like, you know, a couple 100 yards away. Like, last thing you want to do at the end of the day is keep hiking back and forth the creek. Like, just fill your bucket. You can use this to, you know, you can filter water out if you need to, or you can just use it as like cleanup water for whatever your utensils that might need cleaning. It's just super handy. Some people think this is silly, but I freaking love this. I learned this from a guy who I hiked with a long time ago, and he had one of these, and I just thought it was neat, and I've carried one ever since. I also carry a little bit of extra line. This is some very high strength, high visibility line. If I need to rig up like a bear hang on an improvised situation for whatever reason, I think I have like almost 100 feet of this, so I've got enough to take care of that. And then, let's see, last but not least, what are we missing here? Glasses and glasses case. We'll throw that in there. And then, of course, one other thing that kind of goes with my camp bucket is this is just a little cheapy microfiber towel, like the kind you get at like an auto parts store anywhere. Again, just washcloth, dish rag, whatever, handy to have around. And then what else do we have? We're kind of moving on to the electronics now, right? Let me see. Let me look at my notes here. So we've got, got all my clothes. Okay, yeah. So technology, the things I have to carry that are going to be for you know, basically keeping this podcast going for starters, but also just like, it's weird, but like the iPhone has become like a big part of distance hiking, and like I kind of hate it. Like, this is the part of me that thinks that no one should have an iPhone on them, because I remember what it was like hiking without them, and like honestly, yeah, it was less convenient because you had to do shit like, you know, navigate using either a handheld GPS or a paper map, God forbid. But you know, it didn't take anything away from the experience, and I think it actually adds something. And what I mean by that is, like, there's this thing where, like, now that you have a GPS device on you at all times, and not only do you have a GPS device that has a map that's not just a map, but it literally has, there's an app called Way Out that has literally every water source, every town, everything just marked for you. You don't have to figure anything out anymore. And I feel like part of the fun of a long distance hike is getting lost sometimes and having to figure it out, having to figure out like how to get back on trail, how to go find the water source, how am I going to get to town from here, where the heck am I? Like, I think it's part of it for me. And so like there's a big part of me that wants to just take this iPhone and throw it in the trash and just go old school caveman style on this hike. But the reality is, if I'm going to be posting these podcasts, that's impossible. And the other huge argument for the iPhone that it's like really kind of hard to get around is I love photographing my experiences. I love taking photographs, and the iPhone takes beautiful photographs. It's better than most cameras. And if you don't take it, you then have to take a camera. And I have a great camera that I use for some video and still stuff. But if you want to take a camera on a distance hike, that is an entirely separate loadout of gear between some kind of very rugged case you have to carry it in, extra batteries, memory cards, blah, blah, blah. It just adds all this stuff that, frankly, you can avoid by just taking the good old, iPhone with you. So it's a bit of a trade-off, and like I said, mostly figuring out what you're going to carry on these hikes is a trade-off. For me, I'm going to have my iPhone with me right here. This is a couple years old. I think it's a 14 or 15 Pro maybe. I don't know. It's got enough memory on it to hold all the pictures and video, I think. And then the question of how to keep it charged is the big one. So for me, good old-fashioned high-speed cube charger with just a little USB cable. And then I also have a battery bank. So this is the, I forget which one this is. I'll have to look this up and link it. But there's, this is like a little 1,000 amp hour battery backup that does a great job of, being a resource should your phone drain out in the wild. And, you find that like most towns you're in, most places you stop, there you can absolutely find a place to plug in your phone. And you'll find, if you like go to any town along a long distance hiking route, you can tell where the hikers are, because they're all like huddled around the outlet, checking their text messages and stuff. But other technology stuff that I'm bringing, this is kind of just a safety feature, the little Garmin InReach. So this is a little messenger device that I usually stash in one of my shoulder strap pockets. And I just turn it on whenever I'm out there, and it just has a very long battery life. And it just you can actually set it up so people can track you and follow you along with your location, or at the very least, what it really is kind of an oh shit button. If you find yourself in serious trouble out there and you need rescue, that button or that device has a button on it that you can press that will launch the helicopters. Not that I plan to use that, but it's one of those things where it's like, for the ounce or two that it weighs, feels like it's probably a good thing to carry with you. So into the pack it goes. All right. And then other stuff. So technology-wise, the other stuff, I'm not going to put this in there because I'm using it right now, but I've got this little wireless transmitter, and I've got my wireless lav mic that I'm going to bring along. I actually have two of those, and I'll probably bring both of them because I'd love to be able to set up for some interviews on the trail to talk to people I meet along the way. So those will go in there. They don't add very much weight, so we can get a pretty accurate picture without them in there. And then, what am I missing? Oh, so there's like, snow and ice stuff. The ice axe that I'm bringing, this is the one that kind of everybody brings. It's a very basic, lightweight ice axe made by a company called Camp. It's not something you'd want to take if you're doing like a serious ice climbing or a mountaineering expedition, but this, again, kind of a safety feature. If you find yourself on a steep incline that's icy, if you know how to self-arrest, this can save your butt. So I'm going to weigh it without, because quite frankly, I'm probably not going to carry it very much this year. It's looking like we don't need ice axes for a big portion of the trail. That could change. Obviously, there's a couple months left, and who knows what happens. The weather, you can't predict it, but fingers crossed, we don't need too much in the way of ice axes. Oh, I forgot my my trekking poles, though. These are quite important because these are the poles for my shelter. If you recall, my hiking shelter has no poles of its own, so these are the Lecky Makalu lights. They're nice little collapsible lightweight poles, and you can see I've got on here a little bit of duct tape. I like to try and stash things in places like this so I can, if I need a little extra duct tape for repair, I've got it on me. So I usually stash this in my side stash pocket, so we'll put that right there. In she goes. All right, we're getting pretty much packed up here. There's not much else. I mean, the only other thing I generally carry on me is my little Cotopaxi deal, like a little front pack. And this guy, I'll usually have my headlamp in here. So this is just like a little, I think a black diamond headlamp, which I hate, actually. I bought, Here's the thing about me. I always lose my headlamp. It's just the thing that I lose. I've accepted it about myself. It's just what I do. I purchased this one in a town the last time I was on this trail because I lost the much nicer one that I had brought. There's like one that everybody buys. It's like the lightest possible one you can get. And they're all rechargeable now, which is great, except that this one, and the reason, I mean, it's fine. It's a headlamp, like lights up your campsite while you're digging around your pack at night. But the thing that I hate about it is that its charging port is you can't see it really, but it's a micro USB, which, dudes, nothing else is a micro USB. So that means I have to carry a whole extra cable just to keep my headlamp charged, which just, my particular brand of OCD, I'm not cool with that. So I may swap this out before the hike starts, but I usually carry that up front. And then the other things I carry, I always have a spare lighter on me. Let's see, we got some Detroit love here. Got a Red Wings lighter. I'm pretty sure I also stole this. I kind of steal lighters. It's a thing about me. I don't know, man. I've got my earbuds up here. Just some little, you know, keep the music going. Look, no matter how exciting the trail, it can get boring, and it's good to have some music. Swiss Army knife, you know, two things I always like to have on me, like even outside my packs that I know I have, and just in a worst case scenario, are the ability to make fire and some kind of blade. And you know, people get carried away with the knives. I try to go with the lightest thing that's going to do the job. I've even carried like the really teeny tiny little Swiss Armies, and they're fine. Like they do the same thing. This guy's nice if you need to like clean a fish or something. It's just long enough to get in there and do the work. And you know, it's got a corkscrew, so if you need to open some wine on the trail, you know, you got your bases covered. Okay, and then the last thing I frequently carry here, other than a little bit of herbal refreshment, keep my Burt's Bees on me at all times. And then if I have sunscreen, that usually goes in there as well. All right. I think that's it. I think we've got it pretty well covered. Let's roll this pack up and see what she's how much she weighs. Doesn't feel too heavy, but all right. Let's go. Let's take a look at it. Okay. So here it is, all packed up. Homer's very excited about it. So the roll top is pretty cool. You just button this down like that. Squeeze any extra air out of there to make some more room. You just kind of roll it up or roll it down, as the case may be. And then these little guys come over the top, almost like a dry sack, and clip together like that. It's pretty cool. And then the last thing you do is you take your little cinch strap here, clip that up. And you're ready to hike. Let's go. All right, let's see. How much does it weigh? This is the final measurement. We're going to see what I'm rocking with here. Okay. So this, my base weight, my dry weight is, can you see that? 14 pounds, 10 ounces. Not too shabby, honestly. So yeah, there it is. 14-pound pack. That's lighter than I thought it was. I thought my base weight was around 17 pounds. I also am missing a couple things. I don't have my base layers in there. I couldn't find my smart wools. I think they're in the washing machine right now. All right, well, the dog is whining, but that must mean it's going to be time to go out and enjoy some of this nice weather we got here. You can see the sun kind of creeping into my field of view here. That's it. That's all the gear I'm taking, man. Oh, I also didn't put this little battery bank in. So yeah, it's probably like 15-ish pounds. Oh, one last thing. You do have to carry some kind of paperwork. Not that it weighs anything, but you need a permit to hike this trail if you're doing the full through hike. These are from the last time I was on this trail, so I need to print out my current one. But you have a PCT long distance permit. I printed this out on like kind of waterproof paper because it's a little more durable. It's not a bad idea. And then you need a campfire permit for California. Why you need a camp? I don't know. Because they need to make sure you know how to make a campfire in California. Not in Oregon or Washington, though. So that's better. And then if you want to catch fish, you got to get a fishing license, which nowadays you don't have to carry this. You can just download it on your phone. So I'll be doing that in the coming weeks. And then some kind of ID, credit cards, cash, whatever. Passport works just fine for that. And that's it, man. That's the loadout. That's what I'm carrying with me. So yeah, I'm excited. This is I've seen a lot of different people set up different ways, and like I said at the beginning of the first gear episode, this stuff is all so personal. It really just comes down to like what works for you. Don't if you see something on here that you think is dumb or that you wouldn't carry, or you see something, oh man, you're missing this. How come you're not like? Hey, then when you set up your pack, you set it up the way that works for you. This is just that's how it works. You gotta just, and that's again where the experience comes into play. Like knowing what works and what doesn't for you, huge. Because otherwise, it's the only real way to find out. Like everything else is just you're taking somebody else's opinion off the internet or whatever someone in a store tells you trying to sell you something. Like that ain't gonna do it, man. You gotta just get out there and try it. So hope this was fun. I hope this was an enjoyable hour or so to spend going over the gear. I'm very excited for this hike. I cannot wait to share episodes with you all that are actually from the trail, and that's coming up faster than I can really even believe. But next week, I'm not actually sure what we're doing next week. I've got two potential options, one of which is about taking care of your body on trail, and the other one is kind of getting more into like the financials of like how how much you need to save and how much you need to plan for on a trip like this. So I will figure that out at some point this week, and then next week we will be back on YouTube Live, and hopefully I'll have even more technology. Maybe I'll get some lighting in here or something. I don't know. We'll build this plane as we fly it, as always. So until then, thank you all for joining. My name is Eric Wesh, and this has been Younger Man's Game.